Hey guys, this is Blue Eyes Master 91, and today I thought I would do a vampire's profile. So let's get on into it. And today I'll be using my brand new Battle of Chaos playmat I got at the pre-release. So first up for the deck, we have 3 copies of Vampire Familiar. Familiar and his friend Retrainer both have very similar effects. When they are special summoned, you can pay 500 life points to search out a monster or vampire spell, respectively. Both have to be vampire cards. And they can both be summoned from the graveyard by discarding a vampire card from your hand. So Retainer does the spell and traps, and then Familiar would search out a monster. Next, we have 2 copies of the new vampire card, Vampire Ghost. So let's give this guy a little read here. This card is normal summon. You can send one other vampire card from your hand or face up on the field to the graveyard to add a level 4 or higher vampire monster from your deck to your hand. And if you do, send one level 2 or lower vampire monster from your deck to the grave. During the main phase, quick effect, you can banish this card from the graveyard and pay 500 life points. Immediately after this effect resolves, normal summon one vampire monster. You can only use this effect once per turn. So he allows you to search out a monster. You can ditch either Familiar or Retrainer, and you get to add a high-level vampire to your hand. Next, we have 3 copies of the Vampire Sorcerer. Sorcerer is a fantastic card. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit. There, that's a little bit better. I can move the playmat down. Yeah. It's a bit better, at least. Sorry, I'm trying out a new spot to record. So Sorcerer is a level 4 dark zombie monster. If this card in your possession is sent to your graveyard by your opponent's card effect, you can add 1 dark vampire monster or a vampire spell or trap from your deck to your hand, and then you can also banish this card from your graveyard. 1 dark vampire monster you normal summon this turn can be summoned without a tribute. So he's a searcher, and he's a way to get out a powerful monster without having to sacrifice anything, which is extremely useful in this deck. And he doesn't cost you any life points to do so, which is even better in my opinion. Next, we have a single copy of Vampire Lady. She's just an older vampire card, but I still think she fits in the deck. Each time this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent's life points, declare 1 card type, monster, spell, or trap. Your opponent selects 1 of that type from his or her deck and sends it to the grave. So she is able to thin out your opponent's deck. It is a theme in this deck for higher level vampire monsters such as the Vampire Lord, who has that effect, as well as if it is destroyed by an opponent's spell or effect or trap. If this card is destroyed and sent from your field to the graveyard by your opponent's card effect, so spell, trap, or monster, it is special summoned to your side of the field during the next standby phase. So he is technically immortal in the sense that he can just resummon himself, which is extremely useful for a level 5 monster. Back in the day, he was a very, very dangerous card to get on board because he could cripple decks. Next, we have a single copy of Vampire Duke. I'll give his effect a read real fast. When this card is normal summoned, you can target 1 dark vampire monster in your graveyard, special summon that target, and face up defense. When this card is special summoned, you can declare 1 card type, monster, spell, or trap. Your opponent sends 1 of that type from the deck to the graveyard. You can only use this effect of Vampire Duke once per turn. This card Cannot be used as XYZ material for an Xyz summon except for a Dark Xyz monster. So he has a very similar effect to Lady and Lord by being able to cripple your opponent's deck, but he also allows you to special summon a vampire from your graveyard, which is very, very useful. Next, we have 2 copies of Shadow Vampire. When this card is normal summoned, you can special summon 1 Dark Vampire monster from your hand or deck, except Shadow Vampire. And if you do, only that monster can attack for the rest of this turn. This card cannot be used as Xyz material for an Xyz summon except for an XYZ of a dark monster. So, similar to Duke, Shadow Vampire cannot be used for an Xyz summon unless it is for a dark monster. Zoom out just enough. That'll work. Next, we have 3 copies of Vampire Fraulein. When a monster declares an attack, you can special summon this card from your hand in defense. You can only use each of the following effects of Vampire Fraulein once per turn. Once per battle, if your zombie monster battles an opponent's monster, during that damage calculations quick effect, you can pay life points in multiples of 100, maximum of 3,000. Your battling monster gains that much attack and defense. For the damage calculations only, at the end of the battle phase of this card destroyed an opponent's monster, you can special summon them from your opponent's graveyard to your field. So she allows you to steal a monster from your opponent, as well as increase the attacking and defending capacity of your vampire monsters. I think that she is one of the better cards in the deck because of that, and she's a free summon, in the sense that she summons herself out. Next, we have a single copy of Vampire Grimson. If a monster you control would be destroyed by a battle or an opponent's card effect, you can pay 1,000 life points for each monster that would be destroyed. Instead, you must protect all your monsters that would be destroyed if you use this effect. At the end of the battle phase, if this card destroyed any monsters by battle, you can special summon them from the graveyard to your field. So, like with Fraulein, he's able to steal monsters from your opponent's grave, but he has the added effect of being able to protect your monsters from being destroyed. Next, we have a single copy of Vampire Scarlet Scourge. If this card is normal or special summon, you can pay 1,000 life points. Target 1 vampire monster in your graveyard, except Vampire Scourge. Special summon it, but it cannot attack this turn. You can only use this effect of Vampire Scourge once per turn. At the end of the battle phase, if this card destroyed any monsters by battle, you can special summon them to your field. So, like with the last couple, you get to steal monsters, and he is a he has the ability to special summon a vampire, but at the cost of 1,000 life points. So it's good and it's bad in that sense, but he's a pretty good card. He's got 2,200 attack, 2,200 defense. Yeah. Next, we have 2 copies of one of my favorite cards in the deck, the Vampire Vamp. Once per turn, when this card or a vampire monster is normal summoned to your field, you can target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls whose attack is higher than this card's. Equipped it to this card. This card gains attack equal to the combined original attack of the monster equipped to it by this effect. If this card is sent to the graveyard while equipped with a card or cards by this effect, special summon this card. So she can resummon herself when she's equipped with a monster. She can steal a monster from your opponent's field and increase her own attack power. She is a fantastic monster in this deck. Next, we have one of the newer vampire monsters released, Vampire Voivod. Sorry if I pronounced that horribly. Let's see here. If this card is normal summoned, you can target up to 2 monsters in your opponent's graveyard. Special summon those monsters to your side of the field in defense, but their effects are negated. When a monster's effect is activated while a monster or monsters with its same name is in the graveyard, quick effect. You can negate the activation. If a monster is special summoned from your opponent's graveyard, you contribute 2 monsters. Special summon this card from your graveyard. You can only use each effect of this card once per turn. He is a fantastic one-up in the deck. He's extremely powerful. I have yet to really run this deck in an actual duel since I've updated it, but just with the few new vampire cards that have come out recently, I think that this deck is more of a threat than ever before. So next we have the external engine, so to speak, with a single copy of Mizuki, which you can banish this card from the graveyard. Target 1 zombie monster in your graveyard to special summon. So he allows you to special summon. We have 2 copies of Glow Up Gloom. Or Glow Up Bloom, rather. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard, add a level 5 or higher zombie monster from your deck to your hand, or if Zombie World is in a field zone, you can special summon it from the deck instead. Also, in either case, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of this turn except zombie monsters. You can only use this effect of Glow Up Bloom once per turn. I like the effect, but she's in here for synchro plays, since we do have a couple of synchro monsters. And then we have our Pyramid Turtle, who just searches out a zombie and special summons it as long as it has 2,000 or less defense. So that is it for the monsters. Let's dive into the spells and the traps. So for the spell cards, we have 3 copies of the Vampire Kingdom Field Spell. Zombie monsters gain 500 attack during the damage calculations only. Once per turn, when a card or cards is sent from your opponent's deck to the graveyard, target 1 card in the field, send 1 dark vampire monster from your hand or deck to the graveyard, and if you do, destroy that target. It's a really, really good card. It helps with kind of dismantling your opponent's deck, so to speak, and strategies. Because with Vampire Lord, Lady, and any of the other monsters that target spell trap or monsters from your opponent's deck to send them to grave, if you have this card out, it allows you to do more damage by popping something on the field. Next, we have 3 copies of Desire. Vampire's Desire allows you to modify your monster's levels. You can only activate 1 of the effects. Target 1 face-up monster you control. Send 1 vampire monster from your deck to the graveyard with a different level than that monster. And if you do, the targeted monster becomes the level of the sent monster. Target 1 vampire monster in your graveyard. Send 1 monster you control to the grave. And if you do, special summon that target. So it allows you to either special summon or modify levels, which is really useful for synchro and Xyz plays. Then we have 3 copies of Vampire's Domain. Domain is the bread and butter in this deck. What this card allows you to do is you get an additional normal summon when you pay, I believe it's 1,000 life points. Nope. Pay 500 life points. During the main phase, you can have an additional normal summon of a vampire monster. And then each time a vampire monster attacks and inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you gain life points equal to the amount of damage inflicted. So this is really useful because this deck revolves around spending life points. This card allows you to kind of balance that out. Next, we have a single copy of Anti-Magic Arrows, which makes it so that spells cannot be used in the battle phase. We have our generic board wipe in Raigeki, a single copy of Book of Life, and then our Burial from the Different Dimension to recover our banished cards. So that is it on these spells. Let's get into the few traps we have, which we start with a single copy of Mirror Force for just being able to negate attacks. We have 2 copies of Vampire's Awakening. Special summon one vampire monster from your deck but destroy it during the end phase of this turn. You can only activate this once per turn. So this is a free special summon. And then we have a single copy of Vampire Takeover. If you have no card in your field zone and all face-up monsters you control minimum of 1 or zombie type monsters, activate one Vampire Kingdom directly from your deck. Then you can special summon one dark vampire monster from your graveyard in face-up defense position. You can only activate this card once per turn, so this is another free special summon on top of being able to search out and activate the field spell of the deck. That is it for the main deck, though. Let's dive into the extra deck. And for the extra deck, we have a single copy of Red Eyes Zombie Necro Dragon. This card gains 100 attack and defense for each zombie monster on the field and in the graveyard, in both graveyards. When another zombie monster is destroyed by battle, you can special summon one zombie from either graveyard to your side of the field. You can only use this effect of Red Eyes Zombie Necro Dragon once per turn. So, Necro Dragon is good because it gains attack for zombies in both graves, and because he's able to get relatively big with this deck. I do like the special summon effect as well. Then we have a single copy of Black Rose just because she can board wipe. Then we have a single copy of Crimson Knight Vampire Bram. He's an Xyz. So you need 2 level 5 monsters. They have to be zombies. You can detach one material from this card, then target one monster in your opponent's graveyard. Special summon that target to your field, but only that monster can attack for the rest of this turn. You can only use this effect of Crimson Knight Vampire Bram once per turn. Once per turn during the standby phase of the next turn after this card you controlled was destroyed by your opponent's card effects and sent to your graveyard, special summon it in defense. So he's a free special summon, and he is able to steal from your opponent's grave. So it's really, really useful for other Xyz plays. Then we have the Hamphrire Vampire Sheridan. You need at least 2 level 6 monsters for this Xyz. If you use a monster or monsters with a level that is owned by your opponent for this XYZ summon, treat it as a level 6. Once per turn, you can detach one material from this card, and then target one card your opponent controls, send it to the graveyard. Once per turn, if a monster or monsters is sent from the field to your opponent's graveyard by a card effect, or a monster is destroyed by battle and sent to your opponent's graveyard, detach one material from this card, special summon those monsters to your field in defense. So he's able to pop stuff, he's able to also steal stuff, so he's really, really useful. And if you use your opponent's monster which given how this deck is built and run, is not going to be uncommon to do. It's treated as a level 6, so it's really, really nice to have. Then we have a single copy of Zeus, just because Zeus. We have a single copy of Raider's Knight to go into our Ark Rebellion. There are plenty of level 4 monsters in this deck to go into Raider's Knight, and Ark Rebellion is just a really, really good dark Xyz monster to have. We do have a copy of Rebellion Dragon. We don't run Requiem or the rank up spell. Those are, however, in the side deck. But I had to change up my extra deck a little bit in recent days due to the Battle of Chaos and some of the new support. Speaking of, we have our new Link 3, Vampire Fascinator. Fascinator. This is the Link 3. It needs 2 monsters, including a zombie monster, 2 or more monsters, including a zombie. This card is Link Summon. You can target 1 monster in your opponent's graveyard, special summon to your side of the field in defense. Also, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of this turn except zombies. You can tribute 1 vampire monster, then target 1 monster your opponent controls. Take control of it until the end phase. You can only use each of the effects once per turn. So, she allows you to steal stuff a lot, actually. It's really, really nice. I'd like to get a second copy of her to take out Rebellion Dragon, honestly. I think she's really, really useful in this deck and definitely is a good 2-of. Then we have 2 copies of Vampire Sucker, which was, up until the Battle of Chaos set, the only Vampire Link monster. So, she needs 2 zombie monsters. If you would tribute a monster or monsters for a tribute summon, you can tribute a zombie monster your opponent controls. Even though you do not control them, you can only use each of the following effects of Vampire Sucker once per turn. You can target 1 monster your opponent you're in your opponent's graveyard, special summon it to your opponent's field in defense, but it becomes a zombie. If a zombie monster is special summoned from either graveyard, draw a card. So she's really good at recycling and allowing you to draw, which is really, really nice. Then we have a single copy of Boral Sword. We have Nightmare Cerberus and Phoenix and Link Kuriboh. So that is it for this deck. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, go ahead and drop a like and subscribe. And I will catch you guys in the next video.